Good evening and welcome to the Uncalled For. We have a great show planned for you this evening. We have a whole thing about misinformation, disinformation, and a thing that I learned about today called malinformation. So this is going to be really interesting. I think it's really pertinent for today, especially with the anti-vax movements and everything. So I think we should just dive right in. This might also be a two-parter. We don't know yet, but hopefully it's not. But if it is, that's great too, because we enjoy bringing these shows to you. So let's get right around the room and see who's here so we can jump right in. First up, we have Bad Astra. Astra, how are you this evening?
Hi, I'm really good this evening. Just got back from visiting a bunch of family, and it was really nice to see all of them. Everyone was fully vaxxed, don't worry.
Excellent. Nice. Good job. That's awesome. Thank you for coming too. And also we have Dick Dawson. Dick, are you ready for this evening? How are you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this a lot. Things are good here. In about an hour and a half or so, I start the first of like 2 weeks plus maybe a day or two of child-free stuff. So it's going to be crazy. I'm going to get a lot of stuff done. Kind of looking forward to that very much. We do have a couple of people that might be joining us here in a very little bit. There's some invites out and whatnot, but let's turn to you then, Amy. How is things and what's happening your way?
Very well. Thank you. I'm really excited about this show tonight because, like I said before, I heard a news report earlier today that talked about a school who is isolating children who are telling these kids to when they're vaccinated to isolate for 30 days based on misinformation, disinformation, and other stuff. So I thought, and I had already had this show planned, so I thought, well, this kind of just cemented it for me right there. So
yeah. That's crazy. 30 days. Like we all know what they're going for, and yet it's an mRNA vaccine. So what?
Exactly.
Hello?
Yes.
Right?
And yes, exactly. And it's all based on stuff that they heard that's not true, that's getting spread around. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because of the anti-vax movement and everything. And well, with COVID, that exploded. Plus, with the all the news cycles and everything, it just and like presidential elections that came up, there was a ton of misinformation going around.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just been coming to a head lately. So I think now was the most appropriate time to have this show. So
good idea. I agree.
thank you. So I did some stuff this morning, and I was surprised at how much I found. So that was a good thing. So
yeah, our plate is fully loaded. Like in the description, it says, this could turn into a two-parter. If we do wrap it up in one and don't use all the videos, they are all linked in the description. There's some great content. So, either way, you can't lose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Amy, where do you want to start?
I think one of the ones that we should start with, I think, was the one where it kind of describes how people get into misinformation. That might be and how they come to believe it. I think that one might be the best first one to start with. But it looks like we have something coming in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think the one you're thinking is why people fall for misinformation.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Please. That would be perfect. And then we can go into what it is and everything afterwards. And I think that would be the first good appropriate one. But first of all, I do want to introduce Purple Rhymes with Orange. Purple, it's so good to see you. Welcome. How are you this evening?
Okay. Yeah, I don't normally keep Discord loaded, so until Dick mentioned something, I didn't think to look for an invite.
Oh, okay. That's true. But welcome, and we're glad you're here. This is exciting. And it looks like we have someone else coming in too, so I can introduce them before we load up the video. There we go.
Oh, we got tits, Toad. Damn it,
Hello, Woden Toad. Oop, she left.
Yeah, there was an oops in there, but we're good. We're good. It didn't there we go. Yeah, much better. There we go.
Well, welcome, Woden Toad. How are you?
There we go. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
That's okay. So, how are you this evening?
Oh, it's been a weekend and a half.
Oh no! I hope things are going.
And as I just said in chat, that just found out after having a nicely sourced 500-word essay ready and willing when a video that my professor had put on was taken down or something. It went away.
Oh.
She deleted it, and that took my essay with it. So now I have to probably do a new essay by Wednesday, and I'm a little cross.
Yeah, you put that work into it and it just disappears because somebody didn't ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. That's not good. Well, hopefully you can get that figured out and worked out and hang in there. So, yeah. But we've got a good show tonight, so I think this will help, and I think you might find this interesting too. So this will be good.
Agreed. All right.
Yeah.
So let's see if there's been a couple of changes made in the background. So I hope everything still works as it should, and maybe even better. But we'll see here. Yeah. Oh, almost screwed something up right off the bat. Okay, there we go. I'm going to bring it in. This was why people fall for misinformation. The video is done by Joseph Isaac. And yeah, it's, it was picked by Amy. So just sit back and enjoy it because we know you will.
Thank you.
That was odd.
Oh. Do we have any volume on the video?
Hold on. Why do we not hear it? That's pretty.
I don't know without the sound on. It's getting me a little hot.
Okay, hold on a minute here. There we go. Now,
There, now try it.
So, let's. Hold on now. Okay, well, that's supposed to have audio out. Okay. Okay, I just reset VLC because I'm not really sure what it was doing. I think there's an issue there. You know, sometimes you just can't win.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so here, we'll just push play again and see if we actually get some sound.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
In 1901, David Honig published a paper that forever changed our understanding of taste. His research led to what we know today as the taste map, an illustration that divides the tongue into 4 separate areas. According to this map, receptors at the tip of our tongues capture sweetness. Bitterness is detected at the tongue's base, and along the sides, receptors capture salty and sour sensations. Since its invention, the taste map has been published in textbooks and newspapers. The only problem with this map is that it's wrong. In fact, it's not even an accurate representation of what Honig originally discovered. The tongue map is a common misconception, something widely believed but largely incorrect. So where do misconceptions like this come from? And what makes a fake fact so easy to believe? It's true that the tongue map's journey begins with David Honig. As part of his dissertation at Leipzig University, Honig analyzed taste sensitivities across the tongue for the 4 basic flavors. Using sucrose for sweet, quinine sulfate for bitter, hydrochloric acid for sour, and salt for salty, Honig applied these stimuli to compare differences in taste thresholds across a subject's tongue. He hoped to better understand the physiological mechanisms that affected these 4 flavors, and his data suggested that sensitivity for each taste did in fact vary across the tongue. The maximum sensation for sweet was located at the tongue's tip. Bitter flavors were strongest at the back, salt was strongest in this area, and sour at the middle of the tongue's sides. But Honig was careful to note that every sensation could also be tasted across the tongue, and that the areas he identified offered very small variations in intensity. Like so many misconceptions, the tongue map represents a distortion of its original source. However, the nature of that distortion can vary. Some misconceptions are comprised of disinformation,
I really like
false
that they
information intentionally designed.
I really like that they started with something super simple that, like,
Yes.
I hope this is relatable to everyone else, because I learned about the tongue map in school.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah.
And like, I do remember hearing later that it wasn't really true. And I mean, I remember testing it as a kid and being like, that's weird. I still taste this sweet thing in the back of my mouth. How weird.
Oh,
Maybe
my teacher had a response for that. She said, well, it's because your tongue is wet and it spreads the taste across it.
Oh.
That was,
Wow.
at least that's what they told me, because I ask stupid questions like that.
Yeah, I mentioned that, like, and I think it's likely my teacher just shrugged, but I never got an answer. Or it's possible I mentioned it to like a friend, because I didn't want to tell the class I had a weird tongue. But I love that they started with this, because it's something we all know, something we were all taught in school by teachers, and it's just flat out wrong. Like, even the original was like, oh yeah, the variation is very slight and honestly could be explained away by different sample sizes, but you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Purple needs in.
Yeah, I learned about this too. I think it was like 3rd or 4th grade, when I was pretty young, but I had the same thing, that I didn't quite get the reactions we were supposed to get, so I went and conducted an experiment on my family. and found out that it was not consistent with the members of my family. It's just one of the things that got me questioning some of the accepted wisdom from an early age.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what
yeah.
gets me is that the original test was done with hydrochloric acid as their sour. I mean, why not something simpler like maybe acetic acid or citric acid?
Yeah,
there are lots
lemon
of sour
juice.
acids we can taste without causing acid burns.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's no fun.
Right.
They were paying the test subjects. You might as well go for it.
Go for the gusto there.
Yeah, then again, back in the 70s, there weren't quite the safeguards on ethical research there are now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait.
Especially
They
back
go
when
by
you did
those-
that map too.
Let's not talk about Facebook and their ethical standards.
Ew. That might be coming up though later. Just you wait
Ooh.
and see. So yeah, that as far as misinformation goes, we don't know yet because we just started. So hopefully we'll see.
Spoilers,
Right.
darling, spoilers.
Yes.
I'll bring it back in then.
Please, yes.
Mislead people. But many misconceptions, including the tongue map, center on misinformation, false or misleading information that results from unintentional inaccuracy. Misinformation is most often shaped by mistakes and human error, but the specific mistakes that lead to a misconception can be surprisingly varied. In the case of the tongue map, Hennig's dissertation was written in German, meaning the paper could only be understood by readers fluent in German and well-versed in Hennig's small corner of academia. This kicked off a game of telephone that reshaped Hennig's research every time it was shared with outside parties. Less than a decade after his dissertation, newspapers were falsely insisting that experiments could prove sweetness was imperceptible on the back of the tongue. The second culprit behind the tongue map's spread were the
I just want to ask, how do you print something like that without just simply taking a sugar cube, putting it on the back of your tongue and going, oh, still sugar? I mean, what the hell, really?
Like I said,
Yeah.
people had, excuses for it.
Crazy.
Yeah. It
Okay,
is.
I know that was a quick pause. I'll kick it back in, but I just had to say it because,
For this graphic.
Exactly. They had sugar cubes back then.
that's I
don't
think
wanna
that's
know what
just
that
one
tongue is
part
looking
of
up.
Zorro.
Yeah. Dick makes a
Zorro
good
code.
point, is that, there are some things that are so simple to verify before you repeat them. And most people just don't bother.
Right.
I mean, don't go out in the middle of a big windstorm and try to piss into the wind. Just, figure it out. It's not going to end well. But, I mean, come on. You just get some sugar. I mean,
But do
what?
you tug on Superman's cape? That's the question.
I love that song. Oh, yeah. Jim Crochet's a hero of mine musically. Absolutely. Okay, so we're probably gonna get ourselves demonetized with Zorro's gay blade up on the screen here, should we?
I love it.
I'll push play.
images that Hennig's work inspired. In 1912, a rough version of the map appeared in a newspaper article that cautiously described some of the mysteries behind taste and smell research. Featuring clear labels across the tongue, the article's illustration simplified Hennig's more complicated original diagrams. Variations of this approachable image became repeatedly cited, often without credit or nuanced consideration for Hennig's work. Eventually,
You love it
this
when
image
people don't
spread to
cite their
textbooks and
sources.
classrooms as a
Exactly.
purported
This, by the
truth
way-
of how we experience taste.
Here, pause, because this is
But
important. So, citing your sources, everybody's like, oh, you got to cite your sources to avoid plagiarism. And that is very true. That's very true, especially in the humanities. In the sciences, while avoiding plagiarism is always good, it is not the main concern. The main reason you cite your sources in STEM fields is so people can go back to the original and double check you. Because
That's
if
right.
you cite your source and you have thoroughly misinterpreted it, in academia, one, people know that you've cited them. It's actually funny. My wife is currently dealing with disputing the results of a paper that cited her paper. And she's like, no, this other paper that's citing me misinterpreted a thing and it's bad. So citing your sources is very important. Otherwise, people can't double check you. Like, people just have to take your word for it, and then it's not science.
Exactly. Purple needs in.
Yeah, and this mentioned like the tongue map, being reprinted in newspapers and that, and I think that's where a lot of this happens, is that when they try to take a scientific discovery and put it into the popular press in newspapers or magazines, they need to make it brief and they need to make it sound exciting. And I think in trying to do that, they often distort what the discovery actually was.
Right.
Well said.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
All righty, I'll kick it back in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perhaps the factor that most contributed to this misconception was its narrative simplicity. In many ways, the map complements our desire for clear stories about the world around us, a quality not always present in the sometimes messy fields of science. For example, even the number of tastes we have is more complicated than Henig's work suggests. Umami, also known as savory, is now considered the 5th basic taste, and many still debate the existence of tastes like fatty, alkaline, metallic, and water-like. Once we hear a good story, it can be difficult to change how we see that information, even in the face of new evidence. So, next time you see a convenient chart or read a surprising anecdote, try to maintain a healthy skepticism, because misconceptions can leave a bitter taste on every part of your tongue.
Did you know that 70% of statistics are made up, including this one? How can we avoid being tricked by statistics when they're so persuasive and make complex data digestible? Check out this video about Simpson's paradox and learn how to make sense of statistics.
Excellent.
Now this is the thing. Statistics at my previous college was one of the math classes that you could take to get out of your math requirement. And it's, absolute basic stuff you should have learned in middle school. And there were kids that were struggling with it, and it kind of hurts my heart a little bit that there are some simple statistical understandings that just don't really make it all the way to adulthood, and the conspiracy theorists and things like that all demonstrate that people don't understand statistics enough to do appropriate risk assessment.
Oh yeah. And I mean, people think scientific study, that means smarter people than me have looked over it and it checks out. Except there's a huge difference between a scientific study with a sample size of 12 and a scientific study with a sample size of 12,000. And frankly, even the 12,000 study is pretty low.
Autism causes vaccines.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually doing a video soon at the end of November. The script is written. I just have to film and edit it. I'm doing a video about fat phobia and how a lot. So, first of all, the supposed science behind basically your weight being a huge health indicator is very much out. The history of medicine surrounding diets and trying to get people to be thinner does not have its roots in longevity studies or disease studies. It in fact has its roots in Protestant, specifically Puritan moralism, They wrote the song, and then white supremacy made it big. And now we kind of have, but it was accepted as fact that, like, for example, being fat caused diabetes way, way, way before like any scientific studies were done. And so I'm going to go through the shockingly racist history of why doctors are like really, really shitty to overweight patients, and how overweight as a term is terrible, because it assumes an ideal weight, which is not backed by science.
Exactly. Purple, you're up next.
Yeah, two things. First, unrelated to this, just in the side chat, I saw that the bot is offering a special deal on grub muffins.
Oh, God.
Astra, so two things you've missed. Yeah, number one, oh, sorry, Purple.
Yeah, more on the topic, though. What Astra was saying about, doctors attributing so many things to people being overweight, most of my partners have been overweight or even what they considered clinically obese. And it's like, okay, that may be true, but all the things they were attributing to that they just weren't getting help with medical conditions that were serious just because doctors wanted to write it off to you need to lose weight first.
There's a long list of doctors are human, but they need to learn better things, such as, there are certain doctors that still believe that people of certain races can't feel pain. There are doctors that believe that women are hysterical no matter what their issue is.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason that mortality rates, like childbirth mortality rates, are 10 times higher for Black women than white women because doctors are racist.
Sadly, yes.
Because people are racist. Doctors are people.
Sadly,
therefore,
yes. Yep.
Like it is very sad, but very true. And when you slap, for example, a statistic or a quote unquote scientific study, and I've read a lot of those studies because they were cited by people, and I was doing it for the video. Like I read one study that literally it's cited as like the landmark study that shows the link between obesity and mortality. In the introduction, they assume the link. And, and if you read it, you're like, okay, you are assuming that obesity causes mortality. You aren't proving anything. This is circular right here.
Exactly. Dick needed in?
Well, I was just going to turn to yourself. So there we go.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Because we need to introduce Mippet 69. Mippet, how are you this evening? Or this morning for you?
Yeah, still just morning. Yeah, I've been up and down with the health this weekend, so sorry I missed yesterday, guys. But I'm back up again. Good. So, hell, I'm here. That's all that's important.
Exactly.
So,
today can be a better day.
Exactly.
Well, it depends. What stupid have I missed so far? Anything bad?
Actually, no, tonight is instructional and educational.
Oh, good.
It's the other side. Yeah. You're going to love it.
So I'm actually going to learn something real today. Holy shit. Better get my pen and paper out.
And this is awesome. So I think you're going to be excited about this. But I also want to go back to what Bad Astra said about the hysterical women thing. When I first got diagnosed with my tumor, if you don't know, I have a pituitary adenoma, which is just basically a tumor that just sits on my pituitary gland. I named the little jerk Francis. So from now on, if you hear Francis, that's who it is. I yell at him. But before I got diagnosed with him, one of the doctors told me, this is all in your head. So when I finally got the MRIs and everything, and they helped me I asked questions because it was just so fascinating. I like my little eye stalks. That was fun. But but when they pointed out where he was and everything, and so I took it to the doctor that had told me that it was all in my head, and I went in there and I told him, I said, well, I do have to tell you this. This is actually good news. I said, for you, because you were right. It was all in my head. I sat the MRI films because back then they didn't do them on CD. Of course, I'm old. I
Right.
know. Sorry, but but I pointed out right exactly where Francis was, and I said, "There it is. It was in my head. You were correct."
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
His eyes, I guess, were as big as dinner plates by the time I got done in there. And I said, so thank you very much. I picked up my films and I walked right back out. And I was pointing out to everybody else how cool my eye stalks were. So there we go.
Like,
Yeah, when they did my daughter's ultrasound, the first thing that we saw of her was her little brain. It was so cute.
Yes.
Well, not her first ultrasound, but her gender and all the other nonsense ultrasound.
Oh, there you go. Dick wants back in.
yeah, I just wanted to, Astra, if you've been following the chat, you'll notice PJCnet in the chat there. There's an honorary nickname. That user is Pajama Pants. Oh, sorry. And just so you know and you keep up. And the other one was, we now have a new hashtag that runs in the group, and Amy coined it last night, and it was Grub Muffin. And it was a guy that was stoned on meth or something in a kimono, staring off camera half the time in a forest, talking word salad bullshit. You would have loved it. It was awesome.
It was a real grub muffin, too.
Yeah.
What on earth am I doing making educational science content? I could get high and sit in the forest and talk about nothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start selling my anti-neutrino creams.
Yeah, I keep saying, yeah.
It's just Crisco with a handwritten label on it, but gosh darn it, I'll.
Yeah, I should have started a Woo channel. I've been at YouTube nearly 4 years, haven't made anything off of it. If I'd started a Woo channel, I'd have plenty of money by now.
Easy.
Exactly. Yep. And all you have to do is just stare off into space, unfocused as you film yourself and just spout poo-poo. That's all you got to do.
Well,
How
I was
easy
going to be
is
selling
that?
colored bottles of water for $100 each.
Exactly. Just come up with a price and more garble and you're done.
Just need a good story.
That's right.
Yep. So should we dive in for another one here then?
Yes, please. There should be one about the different kinds of misinformation. If you want to go into that one next, I think that one would be good.
Yeah, it's how to understand misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation.
Yes, please. Yes.
All right. I'll bring that in right away. Here we go.
Awesome. Thank you.
I like the sound effect.
Every day, we receive information from a range of media sources.
That was dramatic.
But how do we make sure that what we're consuming is reliable and...
Well, if it's British, it's clearly reliable.
Pay attention, PJ.
You will be better prepared to make sense of the different kinds of information you encounter. You will learn how to identify the 3 main types of unreliable and inaccurate news. And these can all cause harm and distress.
Oh no, it's a frowny face.
Disinformation. This is information that is false and deliberately created to harm a person, a social group, an organisation, or a country. One example of disinformation is the false claim that the coronavirus was created in a lab in Wuhan, China.
There we go.
This is clear disinformation because suggesting COVID-19 was intentionally created in China to cause destruction is untrue. And the World Health Organization publicly verified this is not how the disease originated. The person who posted this originally knew this and deliberately shared this false information anyway. The second term is called misinformation.
Also,
This
I think.
is information that is false.
Hold on,
Can
we
we
have a
pause for a
sec.
second?
I think it's important. So they kind of skated over that second part of the definition where it's deliberately wrong for the purpose of harming a state or particular group. That specific piece of disinformation caused hate crimes against Asian Americans
Everyone.
and people of Asian descent all over the world to skyrocket. Like hate crimes, discrimination, and just negative public sentiments against like innocent civilians just went up because of that malicious piece of information, and that was by design.
Yeah, huge surge in violence against Asian Americans.
Exactly. That was so not good. No, that's good. No, but yeah, and a lot of and so this is really good to get some clarity on what these definitions are. I thought it's gonna help us kind of get through misinformation and disinformation and everything and try to figure it all out. So I think these are good.
Yeah, this was a very important topic to cover.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I was
Pay
saying, like,
attention,
Amy
pajama pants.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and Amy picked a lot of good videos, and that's why I was saying this might be a two-parter, because I would feel bad if we skipped any. There's some really good content here. Should we kick it back in then, Amy?
Yes, please. Yep, so she can talk
Alright.
about the misinformation part.
Even celebrities can get it wrong. When COVID-19 spread to Europe, rumours emerged that 5G could cause harm. This was shared by prominent celebrities who didn't realise it was false. Reliable scientists have debunked this rumour, stating that there is no evidence 5G causes any damage to humans at all. The third term is called malinformation. Malinformation is when accurate information is shared to cause harm, often by moving private information into the public sphere, such as secrets or
revenge
private
porn.
images. Remember, information can be videos and images, not just text. Now you know the key terms: misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation.
Also, so malinformation isn't always just basically revenge porn. It can also be misleading information.
Yes.
For example, one type of malinformation is if I were to say the statistic, more white people are killed by police officers than black people. Technically, that is true. However, it is misleading for several key reasons. One, the population of the U.S. is only 13 point something percent black. So, and so the important stat is that black people are disproportionately more likely to be harmed or killed by a police officer than white people. And it also ignores the fact that people with disabilities are also disproportionately targeted. And it makes it kind of this, it simplifies the narrative in a big way. And it doesn't help anybody, because you're not saying, oh, well, we need to save these monolithic white, like this mythical monolith of like white people who are getting shot, when that's made up of people having mental health crises, often poor people. Like, it's so malinformation can be just irrelevant, seemingly relevant stats, or it can be things like revenge porn.
Right. Exactly. So I love this, and I think this is great. I love how they're going through each piece of this, and we're able to, help people recognize all of this. So this is good.
Yeah, well, and then mentioning that it gets spread by celebrities, that
Exactly.
the celebrities never cite the source of their information. They just go off and put it on social media, and millions of people believe it.
Absolutely. That's absolutely the truth. Well, it's like when I can't remember which, singer or whoever it was that spread that about their friend getting the vaccine and having something bad happen to their. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
When she spread that all around without even, without a care, but everybody else picked up on that. And that gets around so fast. And that's what celebrities sometimes, I don't think they realize how far their
best parts of that is that even like it's all misinformation, but one of the best parts of that story is that Nicki Minaj tweets the thing. The newscasters say Nicki Minaj's cousin had this happen to him. And then there's a whole big second news cycle because Nicki Minaj's cousin was upset. And he's like, no, Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend had this happen to him. And then there was, of course, a third news cycle about, yeah, sure, a friend. So, like, it's on the level of just, we're so far away from citing sources that it's literally just gossip.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I forget what country it was, like Trinidad or something, but
yes,
the lead of the health department for Trinidad had to hold a news conference saying that there was not a single instance of this happening in their country.
And they had to use all the resources that were required to chase down all the people. Did it happen to you? No?
Exactly. So all the resources that were wasted with this did cause harm, because they were wasted on something when they could have been allocated somewhere else to help continue fighting this this virus. Thank you. I'm just losing words tonight. But yeah, and so this is what makes me so frustrated with this. And people just pick this stuff up without even thinking and just out it goes. And now everybody's got it. It's and one of the worst places, like Woden Toad was talking about earlier this evening. Facebook is terrible. Twitter is just as bad. And then the excuses.
Luckily,
that
I can go on Twitter and not be in the muck.
What's that?
I can go on Twitter and not be in the muck. It's just I curate my Twitter.
Well,
carefully.
yeah, most people can. Yeah, it's easier on Twitter, but still the misinformation spreads. And then, and the excuses that come up when you have attention, you've spotted something unreliable online, when they actually do say this is unverified information, you get the claims where it's being censored. And then it still spreads anyway because people see that. It's very frustrating and it's hard to know what to do. So should we keep going after that one, or is there anything anybody else wanted to add before we go on?
Just that if you see something on Facebook that seems sketchy, but it doesn't have one of those "this information may be false" tags on it, that doesn't mean it's true. Facebook has very, very few resources compared to the amount, like moderating content compared to the amount of content they have. So they only go after the biggest and easiest things. So if it's been shared a couple thousand times, it's probably not even a ping on their radar. It's only if it's been shared a couple million times or a few 100,000 times. And John Oliver actually recently did a story about how Facebook and its subsidiaries, including Instagram and WhatsApp, barely even try to moderate information that isn't in English. So the way the resources are spread isn't even proportional. Basically, if you see something online that makes you very angry, double check it, because it might be misleading or wrong. It might be correct, but it's likely wrong, and it's likely designed to make you angry, because you are more likely to interact with things online that make you angry. So your feed is going to be curated to what makes you personally angry, because that drives your engagement, and that makes that drives your eyeballs to their site, drives your eyeballs to the ads, makes you spend more time there.
Exactly.
Great.
Sadly, negativity sells. It's awful, but it's true.
Specifically fear and anger.
Yes. It does, and it's really bad. Okay. Yeah,
well, there's only 11 seconds left in this video. I didn't notice until just now. So
okay.
Let's just let it run, and then we can do a little wrap up on it.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right.
Make sure you report it. And most important, don't share it.
Oh, I mean, you can't. The reporting systems have not caught up.
What was that, Wooden Toad?
I was saying the reporting systems for a lot of these sites, like Twitter, etc., have not caught up. Like, how do you report medical misinformation to, Twitter, for instance? Because there's not a button for that. There's abuse or self-harm or something like that, but there's not, is that self-harm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just the fact that you have to pick categories pretty much demonstrates that they're just doing a numbers game, and unless they get enough people reporting it for the same thing, they're not going to pay attention to it.
Exactly. Because, again, Twitter is too big. The same with Facebook. They're too big for their own selves, for their own good. YouTube is also the same way, and I'm going to call them out on that. But yeah, they're too big as well, and they do the same thing. You report comments, and when you're not a mod on another channel and you see a comment that's really bad, blatantly racist, and they won't do anything about it. It'll sit there for weeks.
Yeah, because the automation can't keep up with the way this information is spread. They can't do it with bots, and they don't have enough people to look at it.
Exactly.
I watched a special, I think it was Hassan Minhaj's show, or it may have been John Oliver. It was one of those two, because they both do deep dives. But it was about how these types of things are moderated. And it shows that with the people they use, YouTube and all of these sites are so good at removing nudity, at removing any suggestive language, anything like that.
Yeah.
And so terrible at what a lot of us believe should be a higher priority, like racism, like other types of hate speech, like inciting violence, like medical misinformation, all of those things.
Right.
And
there's kind of a reason for that.
And the reason that the expose went into was because, one, a lot of these people are low paid and don't necessarily speak English, and aren't given context, because what they get paid is a quantity, not a quality thing. So if they don't see context, they'll see one comment. And I actually had an interview with Dr. Michael Ann. She is an amazing information systems scientist, and she goes over how this is done. But if they see, for example, the comment, "Are you Jewish?" That's not hate speech out of context. It's just a simple question. But in a lot of contexts with people who have dealt with anti-Semitism online, it is the precursor to just waves and waves of hate speech. So if someone comments, "Hey, are you Jewish?" on a completely irrelevant, completely out of nowhere on some TikTok of Star Trek,
Oh, wow.
You are going to flag that as hate speech because you know what's coming.
Right.
She brought this up. And some random person who's likely using Google Translate to figure out what this comment says, or someone who just isn't Jewish and can read it and has 5 seconds to decide yes, no hate speech, is going to let it fly. Or if it's a 2-paragraph screed that isn't grammatically correct, like they'll be like, yeah, sure, it's fine, whatever. I get 5 seconds per thing in order to make a living wage. I'm not going to read all of that.
Right. Exactly. And that's it right there. And that's how they do it. And there's another good comment from Ugly German Truths. He says, YouTube doesn't even try to filter all of the paid scam messages about Bitcoin and stuff like that. And they don't even bother to even put a filter on their automatic stuff. So some stuff is flying through constantly. I've had to monitor Matt's channel because he gets flooded with links on his channel leading to not so nice spots. And it's like, come on, can you see what they're doing? So I'm trying to find out how through Studio to help him so that people can't post links at all ever, because to see if I can get that to stop, because it's ridiculous.
You can disable comments.
Yeah, I could do that, but then his little friends can't talk on there.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. And that's what's going on. They're requesting different. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that and then just sit there and approve all his comments for him, because it's the only way I can get it to work. Because
hold on. You might be able to use the approved user list for this. So approved users would get through the held comments for review, I do believe.
Excellent. And then that way he could, all his little friends that request different kinds of videos from him in his comments, or just says, this is a great video, he can keep those. And then that way I don't have to worry about.
Yeah. So the people who watch his channel regularly.
Yeah, can still get through. That would be good. Because again, it's just more, it just takes him away from that site and it takes him to someplace bad, which is not helpful and it could be harmful. So
exactly. Yeah, not needed.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But there should be an option just to ban links, period. Done. Next. Right?
There should be. And that would be the easiest option. But of course, things that are easy don't exist. So
what's weird is that YouTube does filter a lot of links. Like I'll frequently get notifications of like someone who is on my approved users list, like a patron of my channel, sending me posting a link that's to like some other YouTube video or to like an online meme, just that like a patron thinks I will enjoy. And I have had to tell my patrons, hey, you're going to have to send me that through Patreon, because half the time it's fine. And the other half the time I'll get like the notification, but the comment will be filtered and it won't even go to me for approval. Like YouTube does just filter out some links, but not all. And I see a lot of porn invites.
I've had that happen. They're even like erasing comments from my channel moderators without me ever seeing them.
Yep. And some of the things that they erase, like the Google moderator team will delete stuff, it's stupid. It's not even anything that should have been deleted in the first place.
Yeah, it's obviously based on that person's personal bias and preferences and not some grand scheme of rules. You can tell because it makes no sense at all.
It makes zero sense. Exactly. And you get that a lot everywhere. So everything is just so confusing as to what to do. They don't have really great reporting options. It's meant to be difficult. Well, it's like Discord. Is there a report a post option? No. Report a user option? No. I had a death threat a couple months ago. Could I report that to Discord? No.
Yeah. Just exist and be happy and don't fucking bug us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think here? Should we jump to the next video?
Yes,
Sounds
please.
good.
Let's go to the next one. Yeah.
How about countering disinformation in social media?
Yes, please. That would be
That
perfect.
sounds
Yes.
interesting.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
All right, here it comes.
Okay.
Welcome to Cybersecurity 101. Class is in session. Today's lesson, countering disinformation on social media. If you're on social media, you probably know that some information found there is fake or dishonest. How can you tell, and who is behind it? Let's take a closer look. Since 2020, there has been a lot of false and inaccurate information about COVID-19. In many cases, the authors of this misinformation are simply misinformed. But some misinformation is deliberately created to mislead, harm, or manipulate. We call this disinformation. In this case, by eroding trust in public health, disinformation could lower vaccine acceptance or adherence to safety protocols. By dividing the community, disinformation can cause a rise in infections and deaths. Disinformation is not always easy to spot. In today's lesson, you'll learn how social media is used to influence you and how to identify and counter disinformation. A social media influence campaign is an organized effort to affect other people's thinking in an online community. Influence campaigns based on facts and transparency can unite and strengthen a group, but campaigns based on disinformation divide and weaken them. Disinformation often comes from groups with ample resources, such as nation-states, political groups, cultural groups, and even companies. These bad actors use social media data to target and influence specific groups. For example, most platforms have recommender systems, a type of artificial intelligence that promotes content to specific groups of people. Bad actors can simply pay the platform to recommend their disinformation to target groups. If the target group views it, this encourages the recommender to promote even more disinformation. Anyone can quickly fall down a rabbit hole of lies this way.
I do
Bad
love how
actors
this
can also
is like when they're saying this, a lot of people are like, what? No, that doesn't happen. It's like, no, it's just sponsored content. Everybody knows what sponsored content is. It's ads.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Like I get so much sponsored content. And now, unfortunately, because of my recent huge amounts of research into the diet industry, I get a lot of like fad diet sponsored content. And I always report it as a scam.
Astra, you got to have a ghost account for doing your research in so that it doesn't screw up your main feed.
I didn't go into incognito, and I wasn't doing research on Facebook. That's the worst part.
That's even worse.
I was Googling academic articles, but like the keywords I was using on Google Scholar or Sci-Hub were probably fed in. And I also I always check the why am I seeing this ad? And it'll be like, this ad is targeting women who speak English. And I'm like, okay. Of course, the diet ad is just targeting all women who speak English. Wide net, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I used to get one, Astra, on my ghost account, and it was this product is blowing up the industry in your country. I'm like, what? Seriously? Why didn't you just say insert country here? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a hot single ready to mingle in User City.
Yeah.
I used to get those all the time in Michigan, and it's like, yeah, I basically know everyone who lives within 50 miles of here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you won't believe what users what drivers in your state have to do next.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I noticed a not so good thing too when I updated my phone the other day. It's now asking you to allow targeted ads. whenever you go into an app. That's disgusting.
No, that's good.
At least it's asking now.
Yeah.
It's asking
Actually,
now, which is better than it used to be.
It asks now because legally, or not legally, Apple has decided they're going to let users ask. And Facebook and Google and several other big companies are fighting that because they don't want users to be able to turn that off. Because the data they're getting from us is really, really valuable. And if we turn that setting off, it is illegal for them to get it when, like, they used to just take it without asking. Now.
Interesting.
So always say no to that.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Say no, because that way, oops, we have something on here. We have something.
Sofa King Sleepy for $2 and one secret to make Amy swear. Trademark, which is Twat Matt.
No.
He's too far away.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're too far away, honey. Get over.
I can't!
Maddie.
I can.
All right. I think I'm going to have to read them from now on.
Sleepy for $2 and one king trick to make Amy swear. Why can't you hear me?
Because you're not close to the mic and I keep trying to get you there.
TM and heh.
And nerd face. There we go. Thank you. It says so fucking sleepy for $2 says one secret trick to make Amy swear, trademark, nerd face. That's brilliant. But that's good though that I didn't realize that it was that good, but thank you for clarifying that, Astra. That's great that you can turn that off and they can't access that because they actually have to have your permission. So that's good to know. So
well, like she was saying, that's apparently just an option Apple gives because I don't see that on my Android phone. And every time my phone does a software update, I have to go through all my apps and I have to disable things like that on about a half dozen apps.
Which is ridiculous.
I hate it.
And it keeps resetting them every time there's an update.
Exactly. That's one thing I don't like about Windows too. A lot of the times you'll do an update and the settings reset. That's not good either. And sometimes when you update Google Chrome, it disables your ad blocker, which is not good either.
Yeah.
I cringe every time Windows says it needs to do an update.
Yes.
Yeah, Windows Update screws up my whole OBS setup 1 out of every 3 updates, and it literally takes a few hours to rebuild it all because of what it does. It's a joke.
Absolutely. It is a joke. That's a big joke, and that's just ridiculous. And it, it's not
kind of makes me glad that I'm technology like that word illiterate.
Don't feel bad.
Just tell me which button to press,
Exactly.
The funny thing is, living with King Nerd, we have like no internet things in our house. We've got, our phones and our computers, but we don't have the web connected like refrigerator or anything. I don't own a sous vide machine because I know and am fully aware that the app is 1, possibly going to steal my data. 2, possibly going to hack our, web traffic or whatever, I don't know. Or 3, going to be vaporware in about 5, 4.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I want to address John Eagle in the chat. He says Windows sucks. Would Linux be better? And he's addressing me specifically. I am so close to switching the entire production over to Linux. It's not funny. There's just a couple of hiccups that I need to get sorted, but it's close.
Yeah. Linux has gotten pretty good. I actually ended up switching back from my computer to dual boot for a long time. But anyway, I had this, I actually had a subscription service for a cleaning supply, and they just vanished. They didn't tell anybody. They were just gone one day.
Yeah.
So,
So, should we bring this up a bit more?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Pose as a member of a group. They may adopt a profile similar to their target or change their location to appear close. With the use of bots and fake accounts, a bad actor can easily amplify this effect. To identify and counter disinformation, we need to learn how to separate fact from opinion. Consider this post from Susan's feed. It's from her uncle Steve, who claims everybody knows COVID is no worse than the flu. Beware of phrases like everybody or nobody. Statements like these often commit the fallacy of mob appeal by appealing to the emotions of a crowd for an idea to be accepted or rejected. Comparing a pandemic virus to a seasonal virus also commits the fallacy of weak analogy because the two viruses have telling differences. Steve fails to share those differences, committing the fallacy of suppressed evidence. Finally, unless Steve is an infectious disease expert, he is also committing the fallacy of appeal to authority. He is presenting this information as if he were an expert in the field, when he is not. Susan doubts her uncle's claim, but she isn't an infectious disease expert either. That brings us to the core of this lesson. Do your own research and rely on fact-based sources. Official and verified sources are held accountable for the accuracy of the information.
He was saying that's an appeal to authority. I think he's misusing that, isn't he?
Yeah.
That appeal to authority is basically saying that, such and such expert said this is true.
If anything, that's acting as an authority.
I think I would hesitate to say that the invocation of the fallacy is wrong.
Yeah, it's just wrong. It's like just a lie, if anything else. I mean, it's not a fallacy, it's just a lie.
Yeah, I'd say like the mob mentality one, the like appeal to like common knowledge or whatever, that one is the big one, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the biggest thing on social media.
Because everyone wants to fit in, and there is a level of you can just put something in text with a pretty background and maybe throw an image in, and suddenly it's believable. I think appeal to authority would have been if he had like added a Harvard citation at the bottom, like just made up that it was at Harvard. That I think would be appeal to authority. But I don't think. I think that the false analogy and appeal to authority weren't used very much. And suppressing information is, I don't know if that's a real fallacy or just...
Yeah, I think they're kind of misusing the word fallacy in general.
However, they're right that this Steve guy is full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my thought too. He's full of poo-poo, and he's spreading his
the main
poo-poo
point
everywhere.
still stands.
Yeah.
But is he a grub muffin?
For spreading poo-poo, yes, he's a grub muffin.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is synonymous with dirtbag. It's pretty much what that's pretty much what grub muffin means. A dirty bird,
I love it.
one of those. Thank you. So, should we keep going?
They share. For example, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention website should be favored because they are a trustworthy source due to large government funding, nonpartisan college-educated experts, and years of experience in the field. It takes some time, but Susan eventually tracks down a fact-based source that compares flu and COVID deaths during the same period. Meanwhile, Susan's uncle has been doing his own research. He's encountered many so-called sources that contain disinformation. Remember, anyone can pay AI recommenders to place content on your social media feed. Take this fake news story, for example. It claims to cite an official source, the CDC, but it misrepresents the data. This video also uses emotional and sensational elements instead of a fact-based argument. Susan's uncle has made a common mistake. He's picking sources that confirm his opinions instead of presenting facts or multiple sides of a controversial subject. This is called confirmation bias. Susan, however, has done fact-based research and replies to her uncle. It doesn't change his opinion. Instead, he uses an ad hominem or personal attack, another type of logical fallacy. Steve tries to find a flaw in Susan rather than in the facts. You can't win every argument online, but you can protect yourself from disinformation. You can stop it from spreading too. Encourage others to follow diverse sources and perspectives. They may not always be accurate, but they increase our view of the topic and chances to find fact-based information. And finally, think before you link. Disinformation appears more trustworthy when it comes from someone you know. If you share disinformation, other members of your group may fall for it too. Remember, disinformation is deliberately created to mislead, harm, or manipulate. By practicing these techniques, you can counter disinformation. Class dismissed. The cybersecurity and infrastructure security.
Here. Pause. I love how just sad that narrator got. He's like, yeah, so countering and doing the real research took Susan a whole bunch of time, and she spent hours of her day checking it, finding that it was false, and then she replied, citing her source to the original post. It didn't change anybody's mind, and because she commented, the post got seen by more people because it had more engagement, and then arguments started driving even more engagement. So basically, they were like, here's how to combat misinformation on Facebook. Turns out you'll waste a bunch of time and get in a comment flame war with your uncle, and nobody's mind will change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the worst timeline. Smooches, the Center for what is it? Cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Unfortunately, this is the exact reason I gave up on timeline on Facebook, because I don't have time to deal with my uncles and cousins.
Right. You don't have time to deal with all the misinformation that is so easy to find and just slip out there. And they just post it and it's out there. They don't even fact check it, obviously, so they don't take the time to. They just read it. Oh, it's what I believe, so I'm just going to post it.
I would literally spend every waking hour just correcting the shit my own relatives post.
Exactly. So I don't even look at it.
And it doesn't change their mind. It drives traffic to their posts. And even the experts who made this video are like, yeah, it's hopeless. We live in the worst timeline.
Exactly.
We were told to make a how to combat cyber misinformation online video, and it turns out you can't. So we put pretty graphics on you can't.
Exactly. Mipit's up next. Oh, you're muted, Mipit.
Oh, crap. You missed a super chat there, Amy, if you'd just like to check in the green room.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I was coming to that next, actually.
No worries. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Do you want to read it? Can you lean
Wrote it, no last name.
Lean into the microphone.
Wrote it, no last name.
Read it.
Wrote it, no last name for $5.
Speak up.
The shills are flying off to the shelves with this one weird trick to do this daily, taking your region by storm.
Basic tongue. Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you. Yes. So should we go to the... Thank you very much, Rodent. Should we go to the next video?
Let's
see what we got here. We've got helping students identify fake news with the 5 C's of critical thinking.
Ooh.
Or we have how false news can spread. A video by Noah Tavlin.
So which one would you like? What do you think,
Thoughts, everybody?
Well, credit where it's due. the state of Illinois has passed a bill that all high school students will be required to take a course in spotting fake news as part of the graduation requirement.
What's fake news?
Wow, cool.
Excellent. Well, we're gonna
That
find
sounds great.
That's a great idea. So should we do the 5 C's then?
All right.
Yep.
Please.
Yes,
Yeah, that would
please.
be great. This will help Matt too, because he's asking what fake news is too. So this is good.
Perfect. Well, let's bring it in and get right to it.
All right.
With digital tools, it is easier than ever to create, edit, and publish your work to the world. But there's a cost. It's also easier than ever to spread misinformation, and fake news has become a real issue in recent times. We see this with students. According to a Stanford study, only 25% of high school students were able to identify an accurate news story compared to a fake one. Students also had a hard time distinguishing between real and fake photographs, as well as authentic and staged videos. Researchers use the words bleak and dismaying to describe this, but it's not going away anytime soon, and that's a very real problem. So how do we fix it? Well, here's a
Okay,
5-step
pause.
process that I've used.
Can someone just send good vibes or pour one out for this poor CISA narrator? Because in this video, is it just me, or does he seem even more depressed than in the last video? Like, it really seems as though this poor voice actor and these poor writers are just like, everything is terrible. We live in the darkest timeline. No, I'm not okay. It's bleak and dismaying.
It is very weak. Yes, it is.
They're like,
It's like 10,000 people will watch this and only 2 of them are going to actually listen.
It reminds me a
that-
lot of those videos that they used to show us as kids with the anti-drug thing. Like, you know, here's a high school full of 30-year-olds going, "Hey, or the rapping guy who would,
Oh God, yeah.
yeah, who I'm gonna get down and tell you the real word about drugs. Yo, 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 let's don't get too hip." And yes,
Bad acting.
Yeah, nothing worse than people your parents' age trying to act like teenagers.
Exactly. I had an interesting comment in the chat from PJCnet. Says banning people from debating at all on the mainstream, which is what they've now done about certain things, only makes people more suspicious. Well,
That's not even fucking true. Come on.
No, and well, right. And why do we have to be debating things? Facts
of all,
aren't up for debate.
Debates are everywhere. Like, Ben Shapiro has a platform because he garners views by being a provocateur. Like,
exactly.
Bill Nye is stuck debating every random ass, like, flat earther, evolution denier, climate change denier. Like, geez, the debates are cable news' bread and butter. What do you mean they're being banned? Are you kidding?
Pajama Pants is saying the same thing, that the government experts should be on TV debating these people. And I was asking him in the side chat there, it's like, you know, unless everybody pays unlimited taxes, the government has limited resources. Do you want these people to be spending all their time appearing in public debates, or do you want them to be doing their jobs and providing public services?
Also, like, debates don't work. What a debate, what a public TV debate does is it puts 2 people on the same level. So you have some rando QAnon crazy and some like expert epidemiologist who's worked at the CDC for 3 decades. You put them both on a cable news show, and immediately the audience is going to see them as equally valid sources because they're being given equal time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
And-
Stephen Colbert did it better, where he had the guys that were debating against it, like climate change. He had 3 guys that were shouting against it. Then he had like 97 people come in and shout for it. Like, that's how the debate goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
proportional
right.
to
They
the
don't get equal
scientific
time.
consensus.
Exactly. And how does that foster trust in anyone? Wasting their time on these debates, or would you rather them be using their time more wisely and doing their actual jobs, like helping maintain and manage the health of the whole freaking country, instead of, debating just to build your trust? You have to, also, trust is a two-way street here. You have to work on yourself to be able to discern which information you can trust and which you can't. Just distrusting everything is not really intellectually healthy.
Possible?
Right, exactly. And it's intellectually lazy to just doubt everything just because it comes from a certain source. Although in some sources, yes, it is healthy because they're bad sources, like misinformation spreaders.
I'm going to just say that whatever Alex Jones says, it's safe
It's
that
poop.
it's wrong.
Yeah, it's poop.
Let me
the one thing that it should be recognized here is it's not debate that's needed, it's peer review. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
When
Another
if
peers can be
PJC,
doing the review.
Mung Bean, if you want to go read the actual literature, do a literature review based on your hypothesis, we will pay attention to it. But if you're just going to shout with no sources and no, you're just shouting about what you feel, what you think, what you believe. Well, I feel aliens built the pyramids. Does that make it true? No, there is no evidence for that, sweetheart. Now, on that sweet note, I have to go. Love you all and have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Good night.
I wouldn't take.
Good night.
Good night.
And by the way, if you think that reading the entire CDC and FDA websites, as well as the WHO, as well as actually going into and reading the summaries of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine trials would be way too much time and way too difficult, and only someone with a stupid amount of time on her hands would even consider doing that, you're absolutely right. But I did do that because I'm the nutball here. And if you want to watch a consolidated video summarizing with all of my sources cited, by the way, in the description, so you can go read where I got all of this, and it is all like fact checked. And do not trust me on that. Please go look in my description and see what sources I cite. You can check out my video on vaccines, which I worked very hard on.
Exactly.
So, like, there are people who do all of the research, who do the work. They're called science communicators.
Yeah.
Please look after them. Like, go find them and, like, first, like, and note that they also have specializations. So, like, if I say something about physics, it's probably very well vetted and fact checked. If I started talking about biology, like if I have a vaccines video, please go to the sources, because that is not where my background is.
Yep.
I am trusting a lot more than I am knowing, if that makes sense. So,
Yes.
like, basically always go, if someone isn't citing a source, and they themselves aren't like an expert in the field, they are probably less reliable. And if they are citing a source, go to that source.
Yep, exactly. And before I jump to purple, I'm just going to grab this really fast. It's Rodent No Last Name for $5 American says, why has the mainstream discussions become the Jerry Springer show? Throws chair.
Yes.
Face. Yes. And they all have. I mean, they all do jump to anger. So now I'm going to let Purple go ahead. Go ahead, Purple.
Well, just, off of what Esther was saying there, that as far as, science communicators do serve a very important purpose, because a lot of the stuff is specific to a field. And, I mean, if I go and read some of the scientific papers, a lot of times I don't understand the vocabulary. I don't get a bunch of the terms they're using. So I really don't comprehend much, even if I'm trying to do the research, just because I don't have enough background in the subject.
Right.
That is another really, really good point. Science and communication are two very, very different skills. It's another reason I don't think we should have like professional epidemiologists debate on TV, because no, they are not going to be as good at debating and come off as trustworthy or as knowledgeable as a professional provocateur who's used to being on TV, who's used to acting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Astra, why is there a debate team? Because it's a skill.
Yes.
Exactly.
Debate is a skill. Being seen as trustworthy and authoritative is a skill. Being able, and it is hard.
Well, you see it even, if they try once in a while to get a scientist on a talk show, that a lot of the people wind up just kind of scratching their heads and like, what did he say?
I mean, I am constantly for my channel, I interview scientists, and I don't even keep half of the interview that I do. Sometimes I find scientists who are good communicators, but a lot of the time, I have to ask question after question after question to get them to
get the bites you need.
Yeah, to get them to dumb it down. And I even struggle because if I find if it's, say, an archaeologist or someone who's doing information systems or a neurosurgeon that I'm interviewing, I am going to be able to get them to dumb it down to an everyday layman, non-expert level, because I'm not an expert in any of those fields. I know nothing about archaeology, neurobiology. So my questions will be the same as regular people.
But if it comes to the cosmos, you have to be very careful to edit yourself properly, don't you?
Oh yeah. My wife and I, when I interviewed her, we worked so hard to try to make the interview understandable, because not only are we both the exact same type of nerd, but she has taught me, she has explained her research to me dozens of times because we're married. So I know her research, and I've heard her explain it to our family and friends dozens of times. So and I've asked her questions over the years that I've forgotten. So we were we recruited non-science family members to ask us so we could make this interview understandable to just regular people. And it is hard. It is so hard.
That's exactly it. And Rodent No Last Name had a great comment about that. He said, this is why we don't teach subatomic physics to preschoolers, because it's true. How do you communicate that? Communication in and of itself is a skill.
Yes.
It's something that we do learn as children, but not as well. And I think, but
we as a group are learning that right now to be a more cohesive team and present our show better. We're always, you look back, you analyze yourself, you try to do better, and so on and so forth. Why?
Absolutely.
Because we're learning entertainment and communication in the exact same way.
Exactly. It's an ongoing thing that you have to keep up to be able to continue to use it.
Agreed. 100%.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Should we have a little more then? We got 20 minutes left on the show. There's 2 minutes left in this video, so we're looking okay. We might get to one more.
Sure. So let's go. Let's continue with this one, please. Yeah.
All right.
A word of caution, it's not perfect and there are probably other models out there, but I thought I would share it just in case you might want to use it. We call it the 5 C's of critical consuming. Number 1, context. Look at the context of the article. When was it written? Where does it come from? Have the events changed since then? Is there any new information that could change your perspective? Number 2, credibility. Check the credibility of the source. Does the site have a reputation for journalistic integrity? Does the author cite credible sources? Is it satirical? Is it on the list of fake news sites? Is it actually an advertisement posing as a real news story?
So many articles from The Onion.
Number 3, construction. Analyze the construction of the article. What is the bias? Are there any loaded words, any omissions, any propaganda techniques? Can you distinguish between the facts and the opinion?
Now, right there on propaganda techniques, it would have been nice for a few examples to be thrown in, but let's face it, we're talking about learning and researching, so it's pretty easy to type that into a search engine, correct?
Right. And hopefully what we can do too next week is go into these topics deeper, maybe a little bit, and we'll be able to, I think that might be a good thing to do.
I think next week it would be awesome to go through some case studies of different bits of misinformation and different conspiracies and kind of talk about like why these, like how to debunk these specific things, because talking generally is more difficult than case by case.
Astrid just volunteered for show planning. So there we go. It's all done and wrapped up. Awesome.
No. No. I hate responsibility.
Yeah, that's what your wife said. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'll let it play a bit more then.
Yes, please.
I guess that's a yes. Yeah.
Or is it merely a bunch of speculation? Number 4, corroboration. Corroborate the information with other credible news sources. Make sure it's not the only source making this claim. And if it is, there's a good chance it's not actually true. Number 5, compare. Compare it to other news sources to get a different perspective. Find other credible sources from other areas of the ideological or political spectrum to provide nuance and get a bigger picture of what's actually going on. When we teach students media literacy and they learn how to consume critically, they learn how to think critically. And critical thinking citizens are good for democracy. And that, well, that's good for everyone.
Okay, there we go. I'll kill it.
There we go.
So, thoughts. Yeah, there's
that was because there are things you can look up, and that's what I want to focus on next week, is to go deeper into these. You know, what to look, why are they saying to do these things? You know, that might be a good thing. And like she said, to go into case studies of all these things, and I'll get her to remind me everything about that she wanted me to do, and I can work on that next week, and that would be really good. Because there, thank you. Yeah, because you don't have to take 3 weeks just to figure out that a news story is false or not. There are some where exactly, and there are some where you can look and let's look at this source that they posted, and you look down at the bottom and you'll see this is opinion only, or you'll see that it's not been verified or something like that. That'll help.
Mark Beiser in the chat brings up a great comment. Exactly that. Figuring out of cited sources can be difficult too. Lots of pay to rubbish scientific journals out there to lend an appearance of legitimacy to people who are not used to sorting them out. And it's very much true.
Exactly.
Just because it's on the web doesn't mean it should be. Always check the validity of the site itself. I mean, for me, that's a good one. If I'm on WebMD, I'm probably getting okay information. If it's a link from Facebook to somebody's blog about, candle waxing your butt, maybe not.
Right, exactly. And you can tell someone posted, it was a news article and it was linked to a source that was not so sure. I hadn't seen it before, so I checked out the source, and down below it says, none of the information in any of these articles has been verified. That should raise a red flag. If you're posting things and you're using, if you're citing your sources, like say that 5G is causing everybody, to act crazy or whatever, or is causing you to get sick, and you use that as a source and it says it hasn't been verified, and you obviously this person has not done their due diligence either, so it's kind of, but if someone can find that within not even 5 minutes, within 30 seconds of clicking on that link, and you go down to the bottom of, and usually at the bottom of pages like that you'll see information about us and all that stuff, and you'll see, and a lot of them, some of them are even just WordPress blogs, and those to me aren't quite credible sources. I would like to see something else where they cite if they have sources, if they could cite them, that would be lovely, because I'm sorry, I don't trust blogs, which to me are opinions, not facts or news. So it's just, and there were some things mentioned in the chat that are iffy sources. So I won't mention them because I don't want to advertise them either. You're right, PJCnet. I have to agree with you on that too. I don't want to promote anybody, but because but there are some that have been listed in the chat. I've been watching it. That are not verified, and they're not good sources because they've been known to doctor their videos, and so you have to watch out for that. It's been known for years that they've doctored their videos, so you have videos, and if they have to run their news, like these little sites that have to run their news with videos, raise a red flag for me, because most of the time you'll go to the video and there are no sources to their information.
And I'd like to point out tonight that all of our sources are listed in the description. Thank you very much.
Correct. They are, because these are the things that we found, and we found some, I found some good sources that I thought would be really good.
Amy, we do have a mod alert that Chef Allen there. That was some serious tread on water. Bad Astra and Charlie both got him. So keep a watch there, because that was already across our line. That was not happening.
Yeah, heads up.
Not happening.
If I see more transphobia, I will find a way to ban someone.
Oh, not acceptable. Yeah, it's not acceptable.
No,
Astra,
if you're not phobia, racism, sexism, or anything like that, you can say whatever you want, but no
fucking hate speech, man.
No hate speech, and you do not get to make right. And I'm not done speaking yet. Thank you. And you do not get to make fun of people's families or their kids either. That's bannable as well.
Yeah.
I won't tolerate it anymore. I've tolerated enough from some of these idiots that come in here and decide to troll, and I'm not going to anymore. And no one has to like it.
There you go. Yeah. Fuck them.
Exactly.
It's our channel. We set the goddamn fucking rules, right?
Exactly.
Come on.
And like my son tells his teachers, I'm too old for this shit,
Yeah, there you go.
I don't need to tolerate it anymore. Amazon
#, Amy Rage.
Astra, if you're not a manager on the channel, I'll fix that later, and then that way you can ban. So that's simple.
Anyway.
I'm not sure if the dropdown gave me the option of banning. I kind of saw red when I saw that comment and picked the first thing that seemed appropriate. And I was like, well, for a comment that immature, we're going to go with timeout.
Yes, because that goes with, no last name is transphobic. I really hate choo-choo trains. Good job,
okay, hatred of the choo-choo, while I disagree with it, doesn't qualify as hate speech. I will tolerate hatred of trains mainly because I personally have bad experiences
Oh.
with the reliability of the CTA trains.
Oh goodness, yeah, that makes sense.
Were you traumatized by an episode of Thomas the Tank Engine as a child?
Surprisingly, no. Although looking back, I'm glad I didn't see much of that show, because watching clips now as an adult, it's horrifying.
Yeah,
it is. Well, Matt has a plushy Amtrak train, and he's reliable, so that's always a good thing. He makes sure Matt stays on schedule, so he's a good choo-choo.
The trains that take you to work are completely wrong in every way, but the trains that take you across states or countries, those are really fantastic rides in the right place.
Exactly. Charlie's being silly in the chat too.
Yeah.
Charlie, he doesn't like Trans Ams in the car.
Charlie, my first car was a 78 Trans Am, and the first thing my father and I did was rip out that lethargic 400 engine, and we put in a proper 354 bolt and done her up, and it was a real car then. But that's another story.
Oh, Liam Wakefield is trams phobic.
I like it.
Because the size of the tracks matters.
That's cute. I like that one.
Is that it, or is he afraid of British shopping carts?
Or baby buggies.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be prams phobic?
Yeah.
That is true.
Oh,
Yes,
shit,
it
my
is.
daughter's got a double pram. What would that do to people?
Okay, Chef Allen, you just got your ban, you piece of shit. It's coming
Bye-bye
right
now,
up,
buddy.
motherfucker.
Tootly ootlies. This is going to be fun.
Is it high user on this channel? Is that what it is?
Yep, all done.
Yeah, that's it. Did you?
Bye-bye.
Don't
You
let the
allow
door
it.
hit your ass on the way out, bitch. Fuck you.
Exactly. Don't let that butt crack be smacked by the doorknob, because it's going to be smacked by my foot instead. So that was such a great informative show, and I'm really excited because now we have next week to look forward to. What do you think? Do you think we should
I love it.
continue
I
on
can't
part
wait.
2 next week? Me too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'm going to dig deeper, like Astra said, and I'll get with you in a few minutes. I'll probably just send your message if that's okay, and just, see what you want me to add to the show and stuff. And I think it would be really good to go deeper into this stuff because I really think this is so important. Well, we've been fighting, as a background, we've been fighting misinformation about things because of Andrew Wakefield.
Oh, fuck.
Yes. The man that I so desperately want to poke in the eye.
I've never wanted to stuff roadkill down a fucking human's throat like I do him. Fuck
Exactly. And so because of that, discerning misinformation and finding out why these things persist, even though they've been debunked for so long, would be really great, because that study was debunked before Matt was born, and he's 16 years old. Why does that still persist?
So 2 things. One, H Bomber Guy actually did an amazing video about that, like Andrew Wakefield and all of the bullshit surrounding that, and he basically eviscerates Andrew Wakefield. It's fantastic.
Excellent.
Also, Dr. Michael Ann, the expert who actually studies this, when I was chatting with her, I asked, like, what is kind of the most effective, like, you're pointing out how researching and responding to crazy with rationality and facts and cited sources doesn't work. It drains you. It doesn't change their mind. And like it actually increases their reach because it promotes engagement, and that's how the algorithm works. The best thing that can be done with specifically disinformation and things like misinformation and hate speech isn't to engage with it. Like we could go on, for example, with that chef guy who was spouting scientifically incorrect hate speech. We could have gone on a long debate about how even biological sex isn't a binary. Like there are just as many intersex people in the world as gingers. So fuck right off.
Exactly.
But that would not have worked because you cannot debate someone who is not interested in learning or changing their mind. The only thing you can do is the ban hammer, and that is the most effective, healthy thing. So ban hammer your life.
Oh, exactly. And thank you, because sometimes I need to be reminded of that myself, because it's emotionally painful, definitely, to debate these people, and the tactics they come back with to try to get you to disengage is what I've noticed is what they're doing is really nasty in some of the comments they make and how they justify what they're telling you and what they're saying to you and about you because you're citing facts saying no. I mean, even right here says no, that they don't do that, but they won't listen. It's just, so you're right. There's no point in arguing with them because they're not going to change.
The goalposts will always change.
Exactly.
They'll say cite your sources, and then you'll cite your sources, and they'll say, well, I don't believe that source, cite a different source, and you will. And they'll be like, well, now you're just going overboard. I don't want to read that. Explain it to me in simple words. So you do that. Then they say, well, that's not technical. Now you're just making stuff up. I wish you had cited sources. And you're like, well, see above in the thread. They are trying to get you to be emotional. So you yell at them because they have driven you to insanity with their incessant demands. You yell at them, and all of a sudden, well, I was just asking questions. See this hysterical woman over here.
Yep. She's hysterical because I told her it's her fault her kid has autism, but I don't understand why she's mad.
Yeah,
those times.
All I did was attack her parenting and like, oh my God, all I did was attack her humanity.
Yeah, and her kid as well, geez. I
just don't personally believe that people of the same gender should get married. Why is this woman with a wife upset with me? I don't understand.
Why can't I make it my business what other people do? It's just like, that's exactly what it is.
All I did was send death threats to her and her spouse. What?
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's the internet. We joke.
Yeah, and you're supposed to know that right away because you're supposed to know everything about me and how I joke.
Yeah, obviously that's just my personality.
Yeah, but you're supposed to know that within looking at the characters on a page.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Everyone on the internet is so genuine.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. And then when you try to be, you get, you do get the threats and shit like that. So it's like, oh my God. For the most part, I am. I mean, I'm pretty open about me and who I am and everything, but some people are very disingenuous as far as, and how they treat other people and how they themselves act on the internet. It is a different persona that you use sometimes, but yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great evening, and we are there at. Should we go around the room, Dick? Do you think?
Perfect.
Did we lose you? Thank you. I think
good.
so too. Okay, good. So yeah, this will be a great time to go around the room. So I'm going to start out with Bad Astra. Astra, what did you think of this evening, and were there any highlights for you?
I really liked this evening. This combating misinformation, is my bread and butter. So this was a real treat for me to get to do. I think all of the the highlights included depressed CISA narrator throwing down the ban hammer on a bigot and getting to hang with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that was awesome too. And then we had some good things. Yeah, I know. And that poor narrator, he was so sad. And next up, we have Mippet69. Mippet, what did you think of this evening and what stood out to you?
Well, today I learned that dude that was so boring, his voice, he sounds a lot like Lemon Bird. Now, I know Amy knows who Lemon Bird is, and would you not agree? The boringness puts you to sleep. So that's all I'm saying about that one. But the communications, I actually, a number of years ago, we won't go into that, but I did in a business course, you did the art of communication was one of the subjects. And you actually, you know, there are books out there. I know holy shit, it's, you know, paper thing, but you can actually get these things at a library, which is, you know, a really cool place to go. There is computers there as well, but there are these things called books, and yeah, they're really handy sometimes. But yes, the art of communication is a key thing in in the world, you know, but in this day and age particularly. And yeah, the context of things is huge. So context and communication, yes. And I can't wait until next week until Asper pulls some interesting stuff out.
Exactly. This is going to be a great thing to go through. I really think it's relevant for today. So I'm glad that we were able to talk about this tonight and have the opportunity to talk about this. And yes, and I'm excited about it. And next up, we have Purple Rhymes with Orange. Purple, what did you think of this evening and what stood out to you?
I thought this was an especially great show on, you know, dealing with a very important topic with social media and the way people generally communicate today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's vital that we know what information is correct and which isn't.
Yeah, and that's the real problem, is that these days everyone is so overwhelmed with the volume of information, and people don't know how to sort out what's a good source and what's bullshit.
Exactly. And I'm glad to know that they're starting to teach these things in school. It's necessary. I mean, it's absolutely necessary, and I would really love to see it in my son's school too. So that would be a good thing. Definitely. And last but not least, we have Dick Dawson. Dick, what did you think of this evening and what stood out to you? Were there any highlights?
Well, there's an overall theme. When some balloon knot licking moron types a whole whack of crap or spews it in a video and then tells you to do your own research, the thing is they mean to find videos like mine to confirm this moronic belief. But what you should actually do is take the words at face value, take the lessons we got here, and actually figure it out for yourself. You'll be surprised. It won't take that long, and you'll realize how much BS is spread out there. Keep yourself away from it, because you'll make a lot better picture of yourself in the mirror when you look at it in the morning.
Exactly. And I want to thank everybody for coming in the chat. I want to thank everyone in the panel for coming as well. Thank you all so much. Again, people in the chat, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming to see this. I just think it's important information to get out there, because we all need to know be able to discern what is fake and what is not, and what is bad information and what is good information. So I'm just glad that we were able to present this to you, and I just want to say thank you once again, and I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night, fellow babies.
Good night.
Love you all.
Well, actually, it's a good day, but, you know, hey. I live in your future.
Oh, now we need a time traveling bubble or something. I'll just hit the button. Good night.
Yeah, there we go. Good night.